Hi there, this is Mike of Nearly Enough Dice, and this is the Kerbal Space Program. Right, we're currently in the VAB, as you may well have noticed. And I've got this kind of ungainly looking thing. Really long fairing. Kerbal Engineer assures me that everything's fine. I've just been fiddling these solid rocket boosters to get me some punch through the atmosphere. But what this is going to do, hopefully, if I open up this fairing, is I have not one, not two, but three SCANsat devices. So I've got a long range one, that's for doing the high level. That's my biome scanner, biome and anomaly, multi-scanner, and that's my low scanner down there. And they're all positioned such that their scanny bit is, so they should all balance out, because scanny bits turn out to actually have mass and, more importantly, physics. So they do unbalance your rocket. Now which might cause me some problems when I actually try and separate these things. But the idea is that what I'm going to do, assuming I've actually sorted this out and made the delta V properly, is I get into a polar orbit of the moon. Well, not a polar orbit. I do it's actually more of a flyby that I'm actually planning to do, with a low altitude of about 10K. But as I come into about, and I'm going to have to work out, I'm going off a document which may be inaccurate. Because it's a bit old. But for my radar orbit, it looks like I want to have a fairly low. So I think that's just wrong, actually. But I got my high altitude ones. Okay, so. Basically, I'm going to be coming in. So as I'm quite high up, at about 70 odd, 750 odd K, I release the top satellite. It circularizes its orbit independently. As I come to within about 500-ish, I think it is, I separate the middle one, which will then be the top one at that point, and it circularizes its orbit separately. And then when I get quite low, I separate the bottom one, and it circularizes its orbit. And then I decide what I'm going to do with the remainder of this. This is basically going to be a transfer stage. And I should really, now that I think about it, put a core on that. And I can be quite cheap on this one. Why don't I grab those and put those out there? I'm going to be quite cheap on that bottom one, but I do want solar panels because I don't want to lose control of. Once I've dropped the last one off, I don't want a situation where that's completely uncontrollable, because I may want to like deliberately crash into the mine or something to get rid of it, to stop it just orbiting and not being excuse me to stop it orbiting and not being of any actual use. So that's the plan. I need to do some other bits and pieces. Put some nose cones on things. And this may actually still be my usual ridiculously overspec, because giving myself 3,800 delta V to get into orbit, which is probably way more than I actually need. But I also don't know how stable I've made this thing. I've put some wings on it. I guess we will have to see. Okay, so we'll see how this goes. And I'll I think I'm just going to go to when we're at the moon. But we'll see how much of the launch I feel like showing you. Right, here we are on the launch pad, and let's see how well this goes. SS on, throttle on full. I think my staging isn't stupid. Let's go. Should have a fair amount of torque given the number of cores I've got on this thing. Right, up we go. Oh, I'm not getting much in the way of control here. That may be down to the solid rocket boosters just... No, it's going off in the wrong direction. Might get some control when I lose the rocket boosters, but it looks like my careful balancing didn't work. To be perfectly honest, if it just keeps going this way, I'll just orbit the wrong way around. I guess we're going to see what happens when booster separation happens. Well, I'm going the wrong way, but I'm going equatorial. May just stick with it. I'm trying to see if there's a thing that tells me thrust torque. Thrust offset maybe. Yeah, not sure what's going on there. But I'm going broadly equatorial. Yeah, the wrong way and all that, but I seem to have a lot more control now. Although that could just be my imagination. So I may purely be dealing with a gravity turn here. Like a literal proper gravity turn where the top is pulling me down, but the aerodynamics are kind of keeping me straight, and between the two of them I'm going to get an orbit of some description. Whether it's the orbit I want is another question, but never mind. I'm not going as equatorial as I would like. Can I bring myself further north? Kind of. If I want to go shallower, I do have at least some control here. Oh, this is a very wobbly rocket. Oh dear. Looks like I could have done with a great many more struts. You know, once everything evens out, it's not too bad. But it's a very wobbly rocket. So it looks like I should have strutted this thing up. However, I'm getting a relatively shallow orbit. There are times when you really want a kind of, you know, show me the average. Well, that's interesting. Right, I'm going to go with that. Add a maneuver. Put it directly on the apoapsis. I don't want that one. I want that one. Oh wait, yeah, okay. I'm looking at the wrong thing. One will be looking here, because that's where it's telling me my post, what's happening after my burn. I also want to keep a check on time to node burn. I'm fixing any problem I might have had, but in theoretically, if depending on the size of the rocket that I had, I'm going to consider that close enough. But theoretically, given the kind of rocket I had, and thrust to weight ratio, and how long the how long the secularization burn was going to be, you know, problems. You can end up with I've had a few times where it's like my secularization burn actually, you know, I had a minute to go, but the secularization burn was so long that by the time I actually got the maneuver node set up, it was all wrong. Now, yeah, okay, so this is a very long and unwieldy thing. I'm beginning to wish I put a chaos module on it. Because then you can do a single. Oh, I could have done this in action groups now. I'm just not used to action groups or using them. No, I don't like those panels. I like the 1 to 3s more than I like The one with 6 is... That's slightly disappointing. Okay, so the sun is directly behind me. Cool. I mean, I could do this later, to be perfectly honest. Like, I could do each one as it's about to detach, for example. Right, so I'm very close to the maneuver to do so. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, very wobbly. And I'm going to want to do, maybe. I think I'm going to be better off doing orbital plane correction later on. Okay, so that's me. Oh, have I run out? I have. This is actually part of my transfer stage, which I don't necessarily want to be using for this. But okay, where's me moon? Where's me mun? Where am I? Right, okay, so I'm going to have to finish this off with this. So I didn't actually have quite enough delta V to get into proper orbit. That's very bad. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. I mean, it's not a exactly a circular orbit, but so we're going to add a maneuver there. We're going to get rid of that maneuver. Oop, that's not useful. Set this as the target. Oh, hang on. Focus view. What have we got? What have we got? Oh, ooh, yeah, that's actually not bad. What's that do for us? I think I want about there, and that's really quite good for me actually. Let's just move my wibbly wobbly craft, which is actually not so wibbly wobbly now. Now, I do not actually have enough delta V to do this. This is very irritating. It's going to take 860 delta V to get there. This may take some juggling, because I should be able to steal some delta V, because I shouldn't need that much. I'll steal some delta V. I'll work something out. So what? In fact, that's a thought. What I would do is which bit of this is the fuel tank? That's the fuel tank. Right. So we're going to grab fuel from that outward fuel tank. So this still doesn't actually have enough delta V. So I'm going to have to cheat wildly. So it's going to 861, of which I have 823. So I'm going to be quite a ways out. How long have I got? Minutes. Okay. So I'm going to have to do as much of the burn as I can, transfer more fuel, and then do as much of the burn as I can. However, I should be able to then redistribute fuel amongst all the other satellites, so that they should then have enough fuel to do their own personal circularization burns when they get there. Yeah, so if I can get this even vaguely right, then it'll work. I can't remember where that sentence was going. So there you go. That's the launch up to this stage, and so now it's going to be circularization burn. So let's see how that goes. However, that is going to be for next time. So thanks very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you've been enjoying these videos. If you like, you can come and visit Nearly Enough Dice at nearlyenoughdice.com, and we're also on Twitter and Facebook. And finally, until next time, read to the stars.